to the Win-Win Evangelism podcast. My name's Tina Waldron from Evangelism in Australia. It's great to have you along every week. We produce an episode that will help you share your faith in Jesus' name. Before we get into this week, it's great news today. Our Share Jesus membership is open. It's only open 3 times a year, but as of the 27th of March, you can now register for this membership. It is loved by believers all across Australia. It's trusted by pastors and leaders who encourage their staff and congregation to join, and many individuals just signing up across Australia. It's like signing up for a personal trainer in evangelism, and every month I get to coach you in this area of sharing your faith. So check it out, sharejesus.com.au. I'm looking forward to monthly calls with you, plus all the great content that goes with this membership coming out weekly straight to your inbox. sharejesus.com.au. Let's get into this week's episode. We're here to win, win, win. I've got a great conversation for you today. We're talking about mobilising women into the pain of their community. A wonderful conversation with Letitia Shelton, who's the CEO of City Women in Toowoomba. Welcome to you, Letitia.
Hi, Tina. Great to be with you.
It is fabulous to have you back on the show. In fact, it's been 3 years, and I must say I've been following and watching everything that you do, and watching this mobilising women into the pain of their community and now stretching over to Fiji, and a lot of work going on there. So I want to talk about the idea of mobilising women into the pain of the community. How do we do that, but also what's going on in Fiji? So why pain? Like, what's the background? What's the heartbeat of you to even be involved in that in Toowoomba itself?
Yeah, why pain? Well, we serve a Jesus, a Lord who suffered immense pain, who understands pain deeply. And when I read my Bible, when he arrived on earth, they're the first people he went to were the ones on the margins, the ones in pain. And so all of our communities have immense pain, even our churches, but our communities. And so I guess it's a challenge. How do we find out what is the pain? Because it's easy to sit in church and think your city's going great. And then how do we, run into that pain?
Yeah. Look, you have done an amazing job, but it has been through a model of uniting women in the city of Toowoomba as a beginning. I realise we have City Women, the concept across our country now, but how did that come into play? Like, what was the realisation for you that we need to actually unite Christian women from different churches together?
Really came from, probably my dad, who's 80, and the Lord spoke to him many years ago, over 50 years ago, that there's only one church in a city. And in fact, the Bible talks about that when we're one, the world will actually know, there's many congregations, and it's not about joining one big mega church. When God looks at my city, he sees one church, and he's glorified through oneness, but we've done everything but become one. I tell pastors quite often the most dysfunctional family in a city is the church, because we divide, we compete, the way we've carried on is anything but Jesus. So my dad has been on a journey to understand what that looks like here in Toowoomba, and for many years we had amazing unity. And I, as a young pastor at 25, joined the pastors group, and was just so beautiful. There's beauty in unity. There is ugliness in disunity. And so as we met together as pastors and looked at what we could do to reach our city, I just thought, man, the women unite together even more easily. And we've got to move this beyond the pastors to the average people sitting in our pews. And we became aware of some pain in our city through running camps for teenage girls, non-church girls in our city, and just my eyes were open to the abuse that was going on in our city. So I just thought we've really got to work together. So I just began to gather women from different churches, and women come together and we'd start talking. And women are different from men. We don't have a big theological debate. No one's threatened, that somebody's going to take their people or anything. There's something about women where we feel the heart of our community, don't we? We hear the cries. We're out there. We're at school drop-offs. We've been through our own pain. and we just gather and we respond. So it's been a remarkable journey now of 20 years of just looking at what are the needs and who in our city has that passion for that pain point and how can we release them into it.
Yeah, that is amazing. And, when you say it, it sounds so obvious and so simple to gather people and then where are those points of pains. What stops people doing that? Because I can see that there's a number of city women across Australia, but why has it become so difficult to seemingly do something that appears and looks so easy?
Yeah, I think a lot of our theology is not about city building. It's about church building. So we're so busy inside the church, we're not even looking at the city almost, or we're looking at the city of how to get them inside our church. We're not looking at how to get our church into the city. And then that we've got to do that together. So it's amazing when you have a unified, mobilised church, you can just move fast. And when you've got communication networks, okay, who's got a passion to start a pregnancy support centre in our city? You gather those people, they get going. So it's our disunity, it's our inward focused, it's just a lack of understanding. And I've grown up in a church where I was taught we're here to pastor a city, not just our church. And so everything I do is in mind of not just the people in the church, but the people in the city.
Yeah, it's a very different mindset, and it's a great mindset to have if you've always got that at the forefront of your conversations. Tell me a story in Toowoomba or another part in Australia to begin with of a woman that you can think of that's kind of been encouraged by this idea of let's go and meet the pain in our city, take the church to the community, so to speak. And what came out of that? I know you've got many stories, but just tell us one of those, one lady that you can think of or a group of ladies.
Oh, gosh. I mean, that's been the hundreds of volunteers that we've just seen at work for so many years. It's too hard to pinpoint it to one person. Look, I mean, and I might have shared this last time, but Roz comes to my mind, a little grandma from a Presbyterian church, and 12 years ago when the brothel opened in our city, she just came to me and said, I have a passion to help prostitutes because I know that 90% of prostitutes have been abused. And she said, I was abused as a young girl and that could have been me. I could have ended up working as a prostitute, but because of the grace of God in her life. So she just said, can we start something in our brothel, which then, mobilised a team. Our brothel actually just closed 2 years ago, which is great, but sad too because, prostitution still exists. So, it's just, I think when you create this atmosphere of release and go, people just come out of the woodwork going, I've got a passion for that. How can I do that? Roz, as a little grandmother, just did an amazing job for so many years. She became alive in her faith.
Yeah, just amazing, just amazing. Just talking about that, you saying she became alive in her faith. My personal understanding and experience is if you go to those places of pain, if you start to reach and connect with people that don't know Jesus, you grow yourself.
We always say the fire is in the gift. So when you're using God's gift and how he's wired you, like if someone said to me, Letitia, can you start door knocking the houses in your street and telling about Jesus? I would find no joy in that whatsoever because it's not my gift. But my other gifts, I have plenty of other gifts. And, if you're not finding joy and passion and release in what you're doing, then maybe you're not gifted in it. And I think that's where pastors have gone wrong. We expect everyone to get on board with our thing rather than finding out what's in the heart of our people. How has God created them? What specific mission field does he have for them? And it's going to look different. There's no one size fits all. The whole gospel to the whole city by the whole church will look so unique and amazing and in different ways. But then, our story in Toowoomba has been, as women have found their gift and their joy, they then become better church people because they're just alive in Jesus.
Yep, that's a great answer. And again, it's just so lovely to hear the simplicity of it. It is simple. I know it's hard work, but it is very simple. And I want to encourage you today as you're listening to this
how could you be doing this in your own city? How could you start to encourage people? Maybe you're a leader in your church, you're a female leader, and you could gather and unite other people around this. And I'd encourage you to, in the show notes, connect with City Women. We'll have all the links there, and there's some ways that you can start to maybe think about how you could do this.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far and you're getting plenty of tips and ideas. You know, believers need ongoing support, and church leaders need the right training to offer their people when it comes to evangelism, when it comes to training people to continually reach out. Now more than ever, Christians want to share their faith in those authentic and genuine ways, but they want to do it consistently. They want to be ongoing with it. Well, this is where the Share Jesus membership comes in. It's not just information. It is that, and it is great, but it's that ongoing support where every day I'm communicating with people, where every month I'm coaching people, and we're journeying together as we reach out and we share our faith in Jesus' name. So whether you're a believer that wants that ongoing support to share your faith so that I can come alongside you personally, or you're a church pastor that's looking for the right training for your leaders and also for your congregation, the Share Jesus membership can really help you. Go check it out. It's only open a few times a year and open right now, sharejesus.com.au.
Let's talk about this pivot to Fiji, because you have now taken this model of uniting Christian women and then mobilising them into the pain of a community into Fiji, and you're doing that extremely well. So why Fiji?
Yeah, when I was 15, our family moved over there. My dad has kind of had a relationship with a pastor for 50 years, and so we moved over to help support a pastor there, and my parents also got a business to help some employment going over there. So I was 15 at that age, and my parents put me in an all-girls Fijian school, the most prominent girls' school, which is only for Fijian girls to help train them to be leaders across the nation. So I was the only white girl with 500 beautiful brown Fijian girls, and it was the best year of my life. I think at the age of 15, going to another culture just really, again, changed my worldview. So we're there just for 1 year, but we've come and gone many times over the years. And a few years ago, some of my classmates from way back then were watching what I was doing on Facebook with women and girls, and they just said, can you come over to Fiji and maybe do a bit of training? So I went back and, just became aware of the magnitude of the issue of a beautiful nation. Many of us have holidayed or we drink Fiji water. But it's a nation in trauma, a nation where 4 out of 5 children are abused, 2 out of 3 women are raped, but yet 64% go to church. So that's what's really intrigued me. Why is there so many churches and so much evil? I've never seen so much Christian ministry. They've evangelised that nation left, right and centre. But how is it that rape and domestic violence and porn just are through the roof? So I just felt like God say, go back there and turn up. I don't represent any organisation or group. I just go as a single female woman and find out what's happening and how we can unite the church and get going.
Yeah, that is amazing and very, very sad to hear the statistics coming out of Fiji, given that thousands of missionaries have been in the nation declaring the gospel and giving people that opportunity to follow Jesus. But as we know, it's more than saying yes to Jesus. It's becoming a disciple. And what does that mean? How does that change our lives? How do we conduct our lives differently? What does it look like there? Is it the same set of principles that you're using to try and unite Christian women, seeing who has a heart for various things, and how do you call churches together? Are people working together more easily there than you've seen in other places? What's the look and feel of it there?
Look, I've been able to connect with about 6 pastors and these are probably a bit more younger pastors, a bit more modern, kingdom-minded, and they've united really fast, these guys, and they're exceptional men. A couple of women in there. So then out of those churches, we've started holding events for women, gathering the women, because when the pastors give permission and start advertising in their church and saying, come on, women, we need you to get together, that just really helps, makes unity a lot easier. So most of my work's in the capital city of Suva. We launched Love Suva Women, is what we call ourselves. And in 2 years, we've been able to form a team of women who are on the streets with the prostitutes. We've started healing retreats for abused women. We run programs in schools for girls, many of which have been abused as well. We've now just started a pro-life ministry. Abortion's illegal in Fiji, but it happens everywhere, again, because of the religion and the shame. So we're just training women in how to counsel those who find themselves pregnant and how to support them. So, again, it's just women unite and gather, and we're ready. Quite often I find that women are just a bit tired of being nice church women. Church can be so limiting for women, and we want to turn the world upside down, as the men do too, and women are just ready.
Yeah, amen. It's so interesting to hear you say things like, oh yeah, and we just started this and we started that and we started this. I feel like you must have so many qualifications to be able to do all of these things, or you are like me, just trying to follow what the Lord's saying and then moving out in that direction. So how does that look? How does someone listening go, I just would be underqualified to do that?
I'm so underqualified. I have no piece of paper to show my qualifications. It is just, and as a pastor, growing up in a church where I was taught that our job was to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. We don't do it all. So even though it sounds like I do a lot, it's just finding and spending time with people to find out what is their passion. If ever I have coffee with someone, my question always is, what is your passion? And if they're bold enough to tell me, then I'm probably bold enough to hold them accountable. And let's just have a go. Let's try. I ran a conference 2 years ago called Dare to Fail. Because, again, women, we do get stuck sometimes because we're so afraid of what if it fails. Great. At least you've had a go. But 99% of the time when I've dared to fail, God is out there in the unknown. He's waiting. He lives in the realm of risk-taking. We get to experience God doing amazing things, and that's just been the journey for the last 25 years. So you find someone who has a passion to help heal women. Okay, let's do a retreat. Let's have a go. Let's see if God turns up. Oh, and he does. And then you learn as you go. We just get stuck in wanting to have everything planned and make sure it's all going to be perfect, and then nothing happens.
Yep, it is so very true. And you can get paralysed by the huge amount of need that we see in our communities. Yeah, 100%. That is something that paralyses people, is I can't do anything. But what would you say? Just say I wanted to respond to the pain in my community. I wanted to take a step and actually, okay, I'm going to gather some women and see who's interested. How would I go about that? Like, what would you be saying to other churches that wanted to do the principles of city women, so to speak?
Yeah, quite often I say, and I go into many cities and get asked this question. So I say, let's listen. Is the church known for listening? No. If we were to ask your city, does the church listen? Probably not. And so, again, in a couple of years ago here in Toowoomba, we put some women leaders in a bus and we did a listening tour. Well, we called it the underbelly tour of Toowoomba. And we took them to the police station. Let's go and listen to hear what the police say. Let's go and listen to what, those who are working with refugees. Let's just go and listen. Let's go and look at the illegal brothels as well. So, you can do something like that, or you can hold a gathering and invite the non-Christians to come and tell you what's happening in the city. And then quite often you find that God's already been stirring in someone's heart and they go, I want to be a part of that problem. Or you find out what's already happening in the city. People will tell me they have a passion for domestic violence, but there's nothing the Christians are running. And I'm like, well, the non-Christians are running stuff, so go join them. We're allowed to work with non-Christians, people. It's in the Bible. God uses them too. And then actually the church becomes more relevant because we're walking alongside those and just not doing our own thing. So, yeah, there's already great stuff happening. It's just finding out what it is and how we can help or what we can start. And there's a solution to every problem. And I know in this day and age we get scared by all the paperwork and the litigation and risk assessments. Just do it. Just do it. And there's a solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I think that one of the things that becomes a bit of a stumbling block is that I'm not saying we all do this, but we somehow want to measure people coming to faith. If we talk about this Great Commission, we want to measure that, but I personally think it's a long-term approach that we need to take with people. Like if we're going to make disciples, in this context, we mobilise into people's pain and over time we walk with them, but we genuinely share our lives. You have to go with an agenda to love, not an agenda to convert.
Absolutely. But also we've had the wrong scorecard. So my job, and I think Fiji tells us this, more than half the nation can sit in church. They all claim they're a Christian nation, but seriously, it's falling apart. So again, the Bible talks about seeking the welfare of your city. The gospel is good news in politics. It's good news in business, in arts, in every area. And so again, I tell pastors, our success is not based on whether our church is growing or numbers or conversions. And look, you want that and you hope you get that. But it's based on the health of the community as well. So on Monday, when your church group gets together, your team, and you say, we had 453 people attend church, our offering was $2,025. I say, please add to your numbers how many women were raped in your city that weekend as well, and how many kids went into foster care. Because if they continue to go up, our approach at evangelism is so narrow. And I understand, there's different types of evangelism. But this is why we need the whole church, because we've got to come at it at so many different levels. And just Jesus died and rose again for your personal salvation. It's the salvation of a whole. The Great Commission was go into all the world. How did they do it? City by city. And they first pronounced to the powers of the day, Jesus is Lord, not Caesar. I mean, how controversial. And so, yeah, our scorecard is not, it's quite often we're on the wrong page.
Wow, you've just raised lots of questions and lots of things for people to wrestle through. But there is absolutely, from the people that we have on our podcast, everyone's sharing the same story, that we need to stick with people long term. We need to stick with our cities. We need to see transformation. We don't need to see these one-time decisions as our scorecard. We need to see transformation of individuals, people following Jesus. We need to see that transformation of cities being the scorecard in that city, the crime rates going down, the prostitution going down. That is the scorecard that we all need to be looking at for our cities. So this has been a fascinating discussion, and I'm so thankful that you've given your life to this and that the Lord's called you to it, and thousands of others, of pastors and women and men across our country as well. Very thankful for, but I'm just excited that we can highlight this story today on our show. So thank you, Letitia, and I'm going to drop all of the links in the show notes for you, that you can have a look at City Women, that you can stay connected to Letitia. I know she has some wonderful resources as well that you can be reading and engaging with. But come on, Aussies, let's try and mobilise into the pain of our nation, of our cities, and see what the Lord can do. So Letitia, thank you so much for giving your time again today.
Thank you, Tina. Bless you and all you do as well.
We're here to win, win, win.
Well, thanks for listening today. I truly pray this has been helpful for you and your church. Don't forget to check out the show notes where you can get some questions that can be worked through as an individual or as a small group, hoping this can really serve you well. For all other training, please go to evangelisminaustralia.com.